I think a composer is someone who tries to find new ways to speak music. I think the beautiful thing about music is that there's only 12 notes that we can use, and the great composers are able to say new things with it.
Composition, that's basically my best friend, I think, you know?
I write down all the ideas I have, even if there are a lot of them.
Being the composer, you have the most creative freedom because it is your brainchild that you are birthing onto the page.
A composer is someone who creates music. That is something that I believe in the broadest definition of music.
The Young Composer Program is an opportunity for 10 teens that work with professional composers over 15 sessions, and that results into a brand new piece for members of the orchestra to perform.
Voice, you can say, to the timpanist way in the back. Could you use a little firmer mallet?
Working with students, I think it's a really delicate thing, because you want to encourage them, you want them to embrace their ideas and be excited about what they're writing down. But you also want to push them. You want to give them the opportunity to explore that thing that maybe that's right outside of their comfort zone.
So hopefully all of you have been really clear about your articulation markings.
As part of the application for getting into the workshop, the students have to answer the question, what are you most excited about for this workshop? And I have to put my ego aside because usually it's not working with Angelique Poteet. They are really excited about having the opportunity to write for musicians from the Seattle Symphony.
We decided to have the teens compose for the entire orchestra, which is about 80 people on stage. I don't know if you ever tried to write music, let alone for full orchestra. I studied composition in grad school, and my thesis piece was for full orchestra. It took me 3 years to write it, and I never got it performed. This is what it means, this rare opportunity for students to write and get their full orchestra pieces performed. A rare opportunity.
This is my third year in the program. My name's Luca. And my piece is called... When I first heard that the Young Composers Workshop was going to be for the full orchestra, I was completely overwhelmed and excited. I was like, there's no way I'm not writing for the full orchestra. Orchestration you can think of as coloring, and the different families of the orchestras and their different combinations is what gives you that color. I wanted my piece to tap into something that I was kind of uncomfortable with in order to represent something that was authentic. If you think about the hero's journey, or the monomyth, some people refer to it as a circle, I'm starting at rock bottom because I feel that that is a super compelling place to start a piece. The whole course of the piece is arising out of the turmoil and coming back around full circle to a point where you've evolved and grown. As that builds, then you start to gain confidence. You feel a sense of arrival, relishing in the joy of having arrived.
This workshop is pretty hard. It's less, more stressful, I guess, but it's definitely fun. My current piece right now is about a quokka, supposedly the happiest animal on earth. I really want this to be like a lighthearted piece, just get them in a good mood, because I think it's just nice to be in a good mood. I'll have ideas, but I can't get them specifically on like paper. Like it'll take me a moment to think about it. It's a lot more instruments that I have to write for, and I have to come up with more ideas and, harmonies. It takes a little longer, and sometimes I just don't necessarily have the time for that. And so it's really hard to fit it into my schedule.
I'm most looking forward to seeing how people react to my piece, because I think that's always the most interesting part of composing. You have like this idea of how the composition is gonna sound, and then if it doesn't sound like the way you thought, and you're like, oh, that was terrible, but then people really like it, then that's always a great surprise.
My composition is utilizing the full orchestra. My last composition was called Sori, and it focused on Korean pansori, which is kind of equivalent to Korean opera. I was kind of inspired by the themes that I heard in pansori, and I kind of wanted to expand that, not necessarily using pansori themes, but Korean folk music. I kind of want to have this new way of saying old things with these instruments. I want to utilize them in different ways. When I started writing for the full orchestra, it's kind of daunting and challenging, especially because when you're using folk music is very simple, very linear. So trying to translate that to the huge orchestra, something that I'm working on right now.
For my first violin recital, I was supposed to pick a piece to play. I was really surprised to learn everyone wasn't playing their own pieces. I thought that was wrong. You're stealing Bach's music? Why would you perform Bach's music? And that was upsetting to me. So I decided as a compromise, for the first recital, I would make a medley of Suzuki songs. So I strung them together and found parts where the notes were the same and I could play them in a row. So I guess that wasn't really composing, but that was when I first got really interested in it. So the piece that I'm writing for the workshop right now, I started writing it when I was backpacking, and it was really hot out, and there was this one little waterfall, and then the waterfall was really fun to play in, and it was misty, and yeah, that's where I thought of the opening of my piece. And so I wrote it down in a little notebook that I carry with myself sometimes when I go camping.
I mean, there's lots of little things in the music that kind of only I will recognize.
Right, you hit a lot of Easter eggs.
I do have
past Elisa.
My name is Elisa Kane Johnson. I am 18. I'm a senior, and my composition is looking back on the 4 other years that I have been in this workshop and thinking about what I would say to myself at those different times in my life. There is a lot of telling myself that it's going to be okay when I'm going through times of struggle. It comes from just seeing so many people my age feel like they're not enough. And I have written music about this theme before. I've written it for other people. But with this piece, since it's my last year in the workshop and I'm looking back on all the other years that I've done it, I wanted to do something just for myself. And so this piece is a letter to myself.
The big challenge was writing for orchestra. It's one thing to sit at a piano and come up with materials that a person can play themselves. Now, when all of a sudden you have these ideas and you have 20 people or 20 individual parts that you're writing for 40 people, then it's so much more complicated. You have to think about every single person on that stage. Do they have all the information they need? Are they going to be dovetailing with another line? Do they play with someone else? There's all of this visualizing how it might look for someone to play these parts that maybe they haven't done before.
If you're a composer, you start writing a piece, you bring it to us, we give you that first reading, and then from there, you go home and you say, you know what? This actually went great, but this movement here, I want to change a little bit. Then they rewrite it.
have a couple questions. One of the
You get into that creative back and forth. Now you have a chance of really creating a piece that has longevity, something that years later people will go, wow, this is really wonderfully special and crafted, and it grew and it developed. They come from this constant exchange between the artists and the composer.
It'll have intensity to the pitch, but it's going to be very tight skin.
Okay. Thank you. That helps a lot.
So it's just my reflections. Just you playing it twice, and I'm sure it will settle down more.
Yeah.
And when we'll play it again at the dress rehearsal.
It's really amazing opportunity for musicians who participate in those workshops to give kind of just great, quick feedback in real time and help those young composers to improve their master of their craft.
Progressing. It's great. So my only problem,
Yeah.
I would say that this piece is just overall just amazing from the A and beginning to Z.
Thank you.
From here, I have a little bit problem. First of all, my main problem is that you completely abandon the initial material. It's just kind of going away. I would feel like maybe it could be somehow in some form reintroduced or come back because you took such a long care about it.
I always felt like it's such an important mission of any musician to bring new music to life. And through those workshops, you have this incredible opportunity to help and enrich, those young composers which only start their career.
We love a horn melody.
So it kind of starts here, and then you all sort of start, and then you do that.
Oh, great. It looks majestic.
And then you do it in canon.
Yes. I love that. I'm so excited that you wrote.
Sometimes the best form of growth is for someone that has a little bit more experience than you to look at you and say, hey, I see something in you, and I want to give you a chance to play ball with us. It's these kinds of opportunities that help them define who they are and become more confident composers and artists and human beings.
I like these little passages here. I was actually or more. Do you like a more legato stroke on that?
I guess I just forgot to put it in.
Oh, that's okay, but
Just
I'm happy to
staccato,
do
yeah.
staccato.
Yes.
Okay, and same with this.
I'm assuming that you just want a D flat major gliss.
At this point, it's the same
Okay.
tuning as
so
before.
in this case,
Same
just maybe rewrite the so we know which one it is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
To make sure that it's in the same pedals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the tremolo's great texture, for us. The recurring figure is really nice, lays great on the bass. I hope you don't mind. Some of us might take that down an octave just for fun.
Writing a piece of music and putting it out there for people is an incredibly vulnerable place to put yourself. I mean, it's really all on the line there for you. So I was in the Young Composers Workshop for 3 years in high school. That's one thing the Young Composers Workshop taught me really nicely, was that the music doesn't just kind of appear out of nowhere. To see a piece come together beginning to end is a pretty rare experience for a young musician. I mean, it's not a lot of places where you have that opportunity to have your piece played by some of the best musicians in the world. Without the Young Composers Workshop, I think I'd probably still be making music, but definitely wouldn't have been on the path that I've been on.
Every week they have homework, write music. It takes a lot of time to get in the right headspace to come up with material. Elisa has to think about it more. It takes her a while to think about how the music relates to her personally. Luca generates lots of material quickly, I know this. He can sit down and just improvise at the piano and just come up with these really cool ideas. For some other composer, it could be spending a lot of time going on walks and thinking about how music relates to their life and trying to figure out how you really create this musical experience, how your music reflects on you. before you even sit down and start trying to write any notes.
Sometimes the piece wants to go on its own journey, not where you would like it to be. And you realize you start to be in dialogue with yourself. Your ideas against new ideas, against new ideas. And often with student pieces, this is why we hear 15 ideas that don't go anywhere. So to stay focused on one idea that really speaks to what you aim to say, but also to speak to an audience so that they hear the journey you've been through or hear the journey you're trying to get them into.
Well, I try to write down something that will make me remember what I heard in my head, not necessarily something that like you would read and be able to understand what I meant by it. But a lot of the time I just hear it in my head because a lot of the time it's not for just the violin.
I can't always get it exactly right, so I'm kind of a perfectionist. I really need to get it like perfect right on the paper, so it takes me a while for that.
Inspiration comes and goes. Sometimes we'll have a student who shows up in 1 week and they've written like 2-3 minutes of music, which is crazy. And like, have you been doing anything else this whole week or just writing music? It's great. And then you'll have other composers who show up and maybe they've written one measure and then crossed it out afterwards.
I do feel some sort of intimidation with the blank page, but I think the key with that is to just start writing and see what happens. It really is that idea of looking back on your past and seeing times where maybe you've struggled or maybe you haven't felt like you're good enough, and asking the audience to take a look at those times and reflect on, what would you say to yourself if you could?
So just from like a playability standpoint, you'll find out in rehearsal, but I think tonguing this spot, like that's gonna be kind of crazy. Okay. But we'll see.
The librarians are really the first set of eyes that look at all of the parts in music, and we're trying to find any issues that are gonna come up during rehearsal. A professional musician is very good at inferring things and bringing the music alive. But if you want your vision as a composer to really come through, then it's important to be very clear on the page about what you hear in your head.
I think just having it start on showing them where the beats are is gonna help.
In Elise's piece, there were some beaming issues where, because of the way she had beamed in a 5/4 measure, the 16th notes looked more like a 5-tuplet than 4 16th notes.
I mean, it's just tricky to see where the beats fall. And maybe that was there was an artistic reason, like you wanted that to be grouped together. This is beat 2, but it almost looks like it's a 5-tuplet. Good point. I think if you break these up, it's just gonna like flow better in the player's mind. I don't know.
In the library, we find it really refreshing to work with these brilliant young students who are contemporary living composers. I wouldn't have known in many cases that these were teenagers. Some of the challenges are very much the same, or at least similar, with any of the people that we commission that are established composers.
Anytime you have a doubling instrument, just remember to tell them what instrument they're starting on.
I think I got all the changes and just forgot the I feel like I was born in the wrong century. I have a 9-hour playlist of 70s and 80s hits.
Let's see, playlist names.
My playlist's names are pretty lame.
I have multiple, actually.
I listen to classical music, I listen to Baroque music, I listen to contemporary 20th century romantic.
Earth, Wind & Fire, Stevie Wonder.
The K-pop one's A's Mix 1. The hip-hop one's like A's Mix 2. And then the classical one is A's Mix 3.
Well, I do yard work in my neighborhood for some neighbors, and so my playlist is called Mowing Tunes.
Taylor Swift, is that how you say it? I don't know who that is.
I have a playlist named School.
I'm like, oh, I know this person.
On my mowing playlist, there's Motown.
In almost every workshop, there's that one composer who really wants to just push the boundaries as much as they can. And There was this one time I get this draft and the tempo is so fast. And this poor flute part is all in quarter tones, going at like a metronome, beat equals 144, 16th notes, quarter tone passages. And we just have to step back and go, okay, so I know that this is what you want. Let's talk about how we can make this happen. And I just look at this and I'm like, do you want your flute player to like you?
Oftentimes, when we see new music, some of the things we're asked to do are nearly impossible or impossible. So when we can meet with the composer, what we normally do is we take them into the drum room. We show them all of our gear, show them how things are played, and then we show them different notation for the different instruments that they want to write for.
One percussionist and timpani.
It's like right at the edge of what's possible.
Of what's possible with all the quick changes.
The only one that's like really tough is this change here probably is a little.
Oftentimes, young composers will really challenge us, and it makes it really fun and exciting to work with them. And I think that they like to explore what's possible with percussion.
2 months after the last session with the students, this is when we're ready to rehearse, to get ready for the concert.
Together rather than us.
Typically, they get 1 premiere per concert. Here, it's 10 in a row, brand new pieces that the orchestra has never seen. Something I don't think the orchestra has ever done, to be honest.
There will always be a few questions. The musicians had similar types of questions that they would have for any composer.
Was that too fast?
No, that was good.
That was fine. Okay.
And then, of course, the conductor always has questions about balance and tempos.
And then, let's see, horns.
As the conductor of the Young Composers Workshop, my role really comes towards the later stages. We talked about how do you sit in a rehearsal and take notes? How do you react when you listen to your piece for the first time and not be overwhelmed while processing the sounds intelligently and critically?
Yeah, just more strings,
More
and then
strings.
and then
Less brass
less
here.
brassier. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
After I ran through August's piece, and when he came on stage with us, I had the feeling that he had an extremely sharp ear, and he knew exactly what he wanted to hear. The feedback that he was able to give me and the musicians were very detailed and very approachable.
In general, is the character what I'm looking for? Okay. Just maybe more scherzando when they're young. Okay.
Brandon's piece actually strikes me as a piece that has one of the most difficult openings. In the first bar, she writes an accelerando, which is getting faster, and in the second bar, she writes slowing down. So in the space of 2 measures of music, you have to speed up and you have to slow down. I have a lot of respect for a young composer who has such a unique voice and daring.
Just a little bit faster in that beginning part.
The beginning.
Yeah, and especially at bar 7.
When it comes to thinking about how composers, especially young composers, make that leap to having their works performed for the first time, I can't imagine how much vulnerability that they have to go through. And also being humble and secure enough to receive criticism in such a way that you remain in a collaborative, positive spirit.
A little bit more, more intense from the beginning.
More accent.
More accent on that first part.
Thank you. So first 4 bars, everybody with the accent.
After 5 months of work, we're now the night of the premiere, where all these pieces will be heard by the public for the very first time. We have a reception for the students and their families. The audience starts to fill the hall. You can hear the musicians warming up. There's this wonderful a sense of anticipation that you can feel backstage.
Just being a part of this concert, playing music by these amazing young composers, is just really one of the highlights of the season for me.
It seems like a friendly room, and it's a lot of fun for us as musicians performing their music to have that energy in the room.
I've seen about 100 concerts in the 6 years that I have been here. And tonight is going to be very unique because it's going to be young composers, and I'm very, very excited.
And you might notice that a librarian comes out and plays the first score on the conductor's podium. We're now ready for showtime.
Standing backstage was definitely a special moment. Her piece had a lot of really fun energy. And who doesn't want to start a concert out with a fanfare? I'm really proud of Brandon.
I get nervous when anyone plays my music. I get nervous when anyone hears my music. I think that there's always sort of a feeling of, are people gonna like it? How's it gonna go? Is it gonna sound how I want? And all of those thoughts can be terrifying, but it's ultimately really exciting.
Music is kind of just about me and you and communicating on a different level that isn't speaking. I kind of want to, follow in those footsteps and show audiences new ways that a composer can be presented.
It's very rewarding to hear other people play my music. I just love writing music, and so kind of like an escape for me.
Being a composer is about not being quite satisfied all the time and always pushing for something a little bit different, a little bit new, a little bit more authentic to what you're trying to say. When I come to a program like the Young Composers Workshop, I feel a lot more at home because a whole group of young people around me understand what I do, and I feel like the sense of belonging.
We could be playing their music here at this hall to a completely sold out audience, years in the future.
Performing is simply one half of the equation in classical music. It takes generations of budding young talent to create the music that we play each and every day here at Benaroya Hall.
Incredible for the audience to really go, wow, I can't believe that this is coming out of the imagination of such a young person.
I think we as a human race get better when we identify the creatives amongst us and give them as much access to opportunity as possible.
At the end of the day, it's not about writing music, really. It's about building a community of composers for these young people to find other like-minded individuals that share the same passion, that share the same desire to do something that they've done before. It's a way also for students to go beyond what they've done in the past. And as a young person, to accomplish something that you never thought you could do really frees your mind to all the other things you could do in your life.
Yes, I'm very competitive. I see every violinist and I just think they're like my enemy, No friends. They're just all my competition.
Oh my gosh. My mom's gonna kill me if she sees this part.
I am on my school's Ultimate Frisbee team. I feel like Ultimate Frisbee is kind of a universal composer thing. I just kind of realized that. I'm not sure why.
I've had the privilege of being able to work. I don't know how many like specific things I should mention. Should I keep things like vague? Should I say a theater?
We just kind of start.
Okay.
Were you here for the holidays? Did you go anywhere for the holidays?
No.
You were home?
Yes.
How was it? Tell me about, was your holiday, like who gets together on the holiday?
Just our family mostly, and we went to the symphony concerts, the Messiah,
the Messiah, yeah.
and the Ninth Symphony.
Oh yeah.